What's going on, everybody? Welcome in. It's the Wager Alarm live stream. I'm your host, Howard Bender. With me here, of course, Craig Mish. Time to get down and dirty with the NFL. We're looking at wins totals here for the AFC. And Craig, I tell you, well, let's start off down and dirty. Talking to everybody. Basic philosophy as far as betting wins totals for teams. Do you stick with a division you're most familiar with? Do you scan the strength of schedule for all the teams here? How do you usually go about it?
Yeah, I kind of do it like baseball and some of the other sports. I don't like to go too high at the top, and I don't like to go too low on the bottom because I think that they're pretty extreme on both ends. And I'll have opinions on those, but where my money is going to go usually is somewhere on the middle. And for those of you who watched the live streams last year, we picked 3 totals in the NFL on the live streams, ironically. To review them, we went a total of 2 wins and 1 loss. And here's how they went for those people who want to go back to last year. The first total that we picked was the Denver Broncos under 7.5. We both agreed. We had no problem with it, and we were both 100% right. Denver was not good, and they actually had to rally a little bit to even get close to that. So that was a win. The second one, we actually had complete debates, you and I, on the second and third total that we did last season. The one that I was completely wrong on and you were completely right on was Seattle. I thought Seattle was not going to be good last year at all. I just thought a lot of different issues and injuries to their team. And man, they had a much better season than I could have ever anticipated. They went way over their total. In fact, they went way over it, I think, at like the week 11 point or 12 point of the season. So I was totally wrong on that, and you were right. And then conversely, I picked the Bears to go over the win total, and you didn't really like that one with the Bears. But look, I just thought that defense and getting Khalil Mack was going to help them a lot. The Bears flew over their total. But all told, the 3 totals that we picked in the NFL last year on the live stream, we had 2 wins and 1 loss. And if you're winning 66% of the time, you're doing a really good job. So going into this year, there is really only, of all of the AFC teams, there's only really one strong one that I really feel really good about in the AFC. I actually like a couple of more in the NFC more than I do the AFC, but certainly we'll review it. And at the end, if we have any real recommendations in terms of wagers, then we'll certainly give those out. There's also a couple that I really don't even have opinions on. But out of half of them, I would say 90% of them, I'll give some sort of lean at least on some. But if you are going to wager on win totals, there's a couple of other things. The first is obviously doing them all is silly. To have opinions on them is fine, but to actually put your money on 15 or 30 win totals in the NFL is a little bit crazy. It's not something that I would do. And also, again, when you're doing these, understand that you got to take a close look at the odds also. And some of these are minus 140, minus 130, minus 150. Remember, you're laying, even though it looks so good, you're laying a lot. And you're almost better off at getting a better number or worse number for yourself, but getting better odds, if that makes sense. As an example, the first team that we'll talk about, Baltimore's total, is 8.5, and the under's minus 140. Well, I mean, you're laying 140 to win $100. That's a big risk there on a total. And the third thing is that for those people who are using bankroll management, which is what you should do whenever you're betting, is that if you're doing a total, and let's say the average wager for you on an NFL Sunday on one game, let's just say, I'm going to use a very small number. Let's say it's $20, okay? If you're going to do a total, remember, you can invest a little bit more on a total over the course of the whole season because it's like a 6-month bet. So what I tend to do is if I'm betting $20 on an individual game, what I would do is multiply that by like 5 and make that 100 over the course of the whole season. Now, it may hurt your wallet initially, but remember, it's almost the equivalent of you doing it over a 5-month period. So just keep that in mind, a little bit more on the investment side. If you feel good about the team, there's a lot less luck and a lot more skill involved in a season win total as to how you feel about a team, as opposed to a 1-week scenario, Howard, where we saw last year anything can happen.
We definitely did. All right, so we're looking at the Ravens at 8.5. Is their mark minus 140 for the under? This is a 10-win team last season.
Last year,
here.
Yeah.
It was a 10-win team last season. Now you look at their schedule and the games that they've got coming up. In addition to, I mean, listen, Cincinnati Bengals in that division are a punching bag. They're going to be a punching bag. They're a terrible team here. But Steelers are going to be a tough game twice.
Yep. Right.
Browns are going to be a real tough game twice.
They always are anyway with them usually. So.
Right. Listen, anytime you're talking about divisional games, with within the NFL, they're always stronger. However, when you look at the improvements that Cleveland has made during this, from last year to this year, even more so. But now the out of division games here, Chiefs, Patriots, they go and they take on the NFC West, don't they?
Yeah, they play the Chiefs, the Patriots, and the Rams. Those are their out of conference games. And so the total on the over is 8.5 plus 120. So if you risk 100, you win 120. So there is value there. There's not a ton of value, but I would say if I had to pick one way, it would be under 8.5. Now, a lot of this, Howard, comes down to the quarterback. And by the way, I don't have a huge issue with Lamar Jackson. I really think he could take that next step. But I got to say, as much as we think about Joe Flacco, he was a really capable backup for Baltimore. If something should happen to Lamar Jackson, Howard, Robert Griffin III, I believe, is there. And I don't even think that he's healthy in this preseason. So what would happen if Jackson was to get hurt? And by the way, a lot of those quarterbacks who like to run a lot, and I know that the coach is talking about running a lot, what happens if they miss 3 games and they're 3 of the easy games? So I have concerns there that if Jackson only plays 12 or 13 games due to some sort of injury, that there is no shot of this going over 8.5. So I'll lean toward the under minus 140, but I don't love it.
Yeah, no, I'll lean towards the under there as well. I mean, it is a good set of matchups, very tough matchups. It's not so much, listen, I'm not even thinking about Lamar Jackson getting hurt. Yes, obviously, as a running quarterback, he increases his chances there. He has no weapons on the passing game.
No.
None. And you can only go so far.
Yeah, Andrews, they drafted Brown. Like, I think that they've upgraded the position, but I think that offensively, the Ravens in 2 years will probably be better. And by the way, a nice addition also getting Mark Ingram, but I mean, at this stage of Ingram's career, is he like that game-breaking type guy? They just ruffled through so many running backs last year, and Collins and Edwards, right? Gus Edwards was the other one that they had last year. So I'm not in love with this team, but I certainly look. You got to understand something about Baltimore. They have the best kicker. So if the game is tied with a minute to go and it's a 50-yard field goal, Baltimore's going to win more games than they lose. And you can't say that about like 25 other teams, which is why it's always so dangerous to bet against Baltimore, because they have like the number 1 against the spread record in the NFL. You can't bet against them, and they win a lot of games they're not supposed to on the strength of the best kicker in Tucker in the NFL. So I would lean toward the under. It wouldn't shock me to see them win 9 games, though. That wouldn't be a huge stretch. So this is kind of a pass with a lean toward under 8.5.
All right. Should we stay in the AFC North, or do you want to go through them nice, easy, and alphabetically here?
However you like.
Do you want to go to Buffalo, Craig? I know you love the college there. I know you love their program. What about the Bills? Does UB beat Buffalo?
Yeah, I like the Bills over 7 here. I do. This is one of the ones that I like.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I think that their division is doable.
Yes.
They play the Jets and the Dolphins, 2 teams they could go 3-1 against. At the very worst, they're going 2-2. Their opponent win percentage from last year is 48%, which is among the bottom in the NFL. So that gives them a shot. And the reason why, they play Cincinnati, they play Denver, they play Washington. Those are their out of division games, and so you would think that those are doable also. I think that the number is just too low. It's not that I love Buffalo to win the Super Bowl or anything like that. I just think that this is an 8 or 9 win team, and I am willing to lay a little bit extra juice on that minus 135. So really, honestly, of the AFC, I hate to kind of give it away really at the top, but I think Buffalo may be one of my favorite ones in the AFC to go over 7.
I would probably, me personally, I would pass on it. I don't like the weaponry, I don't like the backfield, how they've got that structured right there. It's a good defensive team, again, you want to talk about a mobile quarterback in Josh Allen. He can be explosive.
He was
absolutely.
Really good in the second half last year.
Sure, of course.
Really good. And by the way,
the Buffalo Bills were great in the second half. They averaged 25 points a game, almost 25 points a game over their last 7 weeks of the season there. Like, they completely clicked.
They did. And by the way, I love the running back who they drafted from FAU, Devin Singletary. If they give him a chance to play, I think that he can be a star in the NFL. The only issue is, as you remember last year from our live stream, we could have had FAU covering that big spread if Singletary wasn't caught at the 1 yard line against FIU. But a story for another day. I'm going to go over on Buffalo. So let's move on now, Howard, to the Cincinnati Bengals. If they're not the worst team in the NFL, they're projected to be among the worst teams in the NFL. We obviously know that going into the season that they're going to be missing their best player in A.J. Green, that's for sure. Their tight end's never able to stay healthy. Their quarterback, I think most people feel, Howard, I don't know about you, I think most people feel this is probably the last season for Andy Dalton starting in Cincinnati, and they could be chasing down a top 3 pick in the NFL, but the indication here is the total of 6, which isn't super low, so Vegas is kind of dragging you into that under 6 here, which makes it a little bit dangerous for me. So how do you see Cincinnati?
Well, considering that they lost their first-round draft choice in Jonah Williams and their offensive line and Clint Bowling retired, their offensive line took a massive hit. Massive hit. I'm happily taking the under on this one for the Bengals. Listen, I think this is a team that'll scare you every once in a while, but I think overall, I think that they're just not a good team. They're not a strong team. I like Tyler Boyd. I like Joe Mixon, but I'm sorry. Without an offensive line, Mixon gets neutralized. You can't just sit and rely on Boyd and Andy Dalton the entire time. I'll take the under.
Yeah, and their road games this year, also NFC West, so they'll play Seattle. They have a neutral site game, which is London, against the Rams. That's not really a winnable game for them, I would think, either. They have the Cardinals at home. They could win that. They have the Jaguars at home there. But they would have to win some games in that division, and they're clearly the worst team. So I would also lean toward the under, but it would be a no play for me.
All right, the big team that everybody wants in on. Last year, it was the easiest, over. Well, they made you sweat it out, but I think, it was like 4 wins for the Browns at
Cleveland?
First.
Yeah, well, they made you sweat it out the first month, and then Hugh Jackson got fired, and it went whoop.
And then all of a sudden, hey, look, we know how to play ball. Right. So now it's we're talking about 9, and it's
that's a high number.
Minus 110, the over, the under. I mean, just listen. I think that the weaponry is great. I think that 2 gimmies against Cincinnati are absolutely fantastic. They do have some out of division games that are tough. They do also have to play the Rams in the NFC West. 9 wins, that's the thing. Like if this had like an 8.5, then I'd be happy. I'd be okay taking the over. If it was 9.5, I'd be happy taking the under here.
So it's close for you.
It's really close for me. It's a no bet for me, but I think that I would probably lean on the under, on the 8-8.
That's where I would go to.
I would lean on the 8-8.
I feel like there's too much steam and too much positivity on a team. Look, Baker Mayfield has been great. They added Landry last year. They added Beckham now, and Chubb looks like he's going to be a star. They have a lot of things going right for them, but I feel like the number is a little bit too inflated, and it wouldn't shock me to see them win 8 games. Like I think that nobody would be upset with the Browns it would be a little bit disappointing, but would it be shocking to see them win 8? No, and the number is 9 here. I think that this comes down to the last game of the season probably for them, and they're on the brink of the postseason. And I think that in 2 years from now, we could be talking about the Browns as a Super Bowl contender. I think that they'll get close in a couple of years, but I just don't see that huge jump coming this year, so I will also lean toward the under.
All right, I'm on there also. Now, our darlings in Denver did us right last time. Do we do it again here? Over-under is 7. It's even money on the under here. Minus 120 on the over. I got to tell you, man, listen. Joe Flacco is the quarterback. The best wide receiver is banged up. I think Cortland Sutton's a little on the overrated side.
I do too.
Everybody's oohing and ahhing over Noah Fant as the tight end. He doesn't really do much for me. No rookie tight end does it for me.
No, they don't in the first year. No.
Okay, almost never. Yes, the Lindsey Freeman situation, that's going to be interesting. But the bottom line is that John Elway wants Drew Lock under center. And at some point, we are looking at a change. I don't know how much rope they're going to give to Joe Flacco as the starting quarterback. I just don't love this team. I love Vic Fangio as the coach, but he's totally defensive-minded, and he's putting his eggs into Rick Scarangello's basket here. And Scarangello he was the quarterback's coach for the 49ers last year. So he's from the Kyle Shanahan tree. We know what he wants to do. He wants to implement that same type of offense that Shanahan's got going on there in San Francisco. I don't think it works with this personnel. And I think we're going to be doing a lot of the unders this year for Denver. And the under I'm going to start with is under 7 on the wins.
Yeah, I could see that too. I'm just going to lean on this one under 7, but you're right, Howard. And the other thing that you have to look at here when you look at the Broncos is, and just picture this: are they better than they were last year? Like, do you really feel like they're better? What did they do to get better? I think they're the same team or worse. So I think that you make a really good point. I'm also going to lean toward the under here, so I would probably agree with you on that one. One that I do feel good about, but the problem is the line. So I'm going to have some advice here for people on this one. Now, this is the Houston Texans. The Texans number is fluctuating a little bit back and forth. Okay, so you see some 8.5s, and the over 8.5 you can get plus 140. The under 8.5, and here's where my issue is minus 160. And I know we've been riding a lot of unders here, but I'm going to do it again here. What I would do, Howard, is I would try to get an 8 instead of laying the minus 160. I would try to get an 8. I think Houston is worse than 8 wins. Really? I don't think that half does anything for you. I think this is the final year of Bill O'Brien as the coach. They're already talking about trading Clowney. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they're the only team in the NFL without a general manager going into the season also. They never hired one. Kareem Jackson, who was their best defensive back, is gone. Tyrann Mathieu is also gone. And here is the number that stuck out to me in a big way. In the NFL last year, Bill O'Brien ran the ball on 62% of his first downs, which is the highest in the NFL by far. There's just nothing creative going on for this team. They won a lot of lucky close games last year, including a game where Frank Reich, the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, on a 4th down play in overtime, if you remember, went for it on his own 37-yard line. They didn't get the 4th and 1. Houston went on the field and kicked a field goal. They are not a good team. I think Houston is one of the big disappointments in the NFL this season. I think they may head toward a rebuild in the offseason, so I am going under 8.5, and I would tell you that I would try to find an 8 if I could. Do not lay 160 on a total to win 100. There's got to be a way that you can find an 8, and you can get plus on that. Remember, you can go from minus 160 on 8.5 to get plus 120 on 8. And so I think worst case scenario, you push here. I'm definitely going under on Houston.
Okay, I'm gonna take the over.
Over.
I'm gonna take the over.
Sell me.
I think they made some really nice improvements on the offensive line. I think they've got their game plan in place right now. Yes, there's Lamar Miller. They're adding Duke Johnson. I don't love Duke Johnson at all, but don't give me the eyeballs there. Listen, DeAndre Hopkins, Will Fuller. Maybe you got Kiki Kute in there.
Yeah, maybe a lot of run. I mean, they don't.
Listen, with the way the offensive line was fixed, I don't think you're going to get that many run plays. I think you're going to see a ton of RPO work. I think you're going to see Deshaun Watson running a little bit more in the right direction and not just running for his life. I disagree with you here for right now, respectively.
Yeah, sure. No, listen, look. It makes it fun to disagree.
Sure.
And you can, by the way, you can get plus money on that.
I get plus money. I get plus 140 on that.
Houston's going to win 9 games this year. Okay,
I'll take it.
Sounds good. All right, Indianapolis Colts. This is an impossible one for us to do here. Before today, and I started working on this yesterday. I was a lean on the over for sure with Indianapolis, just because I don't like their division at all. And then you hear the news today that maybe something is worse with Andrew Luck. Obviously, is there any other quarterback that is more valuable to their team than Andrew Luck is to the Colts? I mean, we saw what it was like without Luck on Indianapolis. I can't even give you the names of the quarterbacks who were playing for Indianapolis a couple of years ago. So they're one of the big movers, though, in Vegas. They went from 9.5 to 10 last month. They moved up, and their average point of victory last year was number 1 in the NFL, 11.7 points. I don't like Houston. I don't like Jacksonville. I don't like Tennessee. I could see them going 5-1 in the division. And if Luck is healthy, I could see them winning 12, even 13 games. I think this is one of the best teams in the AFC. They may not be New England. They may not be KC. But come on, 10, that seems low for me. And it's plus with the Colts. But again, Howard, man, like if Andrew Luck misses a game or two, you're going to lose this bet. So, I mean, best I could say is that on one of our live streams coming up, maybe I'll change my mind on it, but it's just got to be a pass for now. But I lean toward the over big time with the Colts.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, I don't know if you heard the audio of Jim Irsay talking about what was wrong with Andrew Luck right now. They said that it was originally cited as a calf issue. Yeah. Now, apparently, it's not in the Achilles. This is what Irsay said. He's like, it's not. It has nothing to do with the Achilles, but there is a small issue with a bone in another area. That's what he said. In another area. He didn't say the foot. He didn't say the ankle. He didn't say the knee. I don't know if it's a bone spur where the tibia and the fibula come together. Whoever knows? I have no idea. The problem that I have here is that the Colts are horrendous with regard to how they're announcing and evaluating and
the injuries,
sharing the injury news, especially with Andrew Luck.
2 years ago, you're right, Howard. 2 years ago, if we were doing this live stream, we would have said
he was playing.
Oh, maybe Luck will miss a game or two. He missed the whole year. He missed all 16 games. So, I mean, maybe there is some value on going under and saying that they're just not reporting it at all. But yeah, I can't do it. This went from 9 to 10 because now the news of the bone and all the money's going to go on the under. This is where you do take the over if you just want to say, you know what, I do believe that Luck is going to play. If you believe that Luck will play this season and play the majority of games, then you have to take the over here, and you'll make money on that. I do. I think if he plays, they go over 10. He was as impressive as any quarterback in the NFL to me last year. I was shocked to see how well he rebounded from missing a year, but it is bizarre, and I think that it's best to probably wait on this one, unless, as you said, maybe some odds change with it going to the under, and then you can pound on that. But if he doesn't, forget about this week. If he doesn't play next week at all in the preseason too, then I think that there's going to be more of an issue. I don't really worry. Week 2 is somewhat of an indicator, but week 3 is really the true indicator as to whether a guy's going to play in the regular season. Okay, Jacksonville. Wow, what a boring team. They won 5 games last year. I don't know. Can they win 4 more this year? They have a new offensive coordinator, John DeFilippo. Nick Foles is their quarterback. Okay, great. They play the Bengals, the Raiders. They have some easy games. They play Houston, Tennessee. Fournette, when he's on the field, he's dominant. When he's not, they're not the same team. I feel like this is the number to me. Like, I feel like Jacksonville at the end of the year is 8 wins and 8 losses. Like, I don't know. I don't see a reason definitively to go under, and I don't see a reason definitively to go over. How about you?
No, I mean, I lean on the under here. I could see them being like a 7-9 team, or or 6-10 even. There's nothing that excites me about this team. And listen, I get that they've got Foles in there now and he's reunited, but I mean, where are his weapons? D.D. Westbrook, Keelan Cole, Marquise Lee isn't even back on the field anymore. There's no tight end in this system at all. They've got Fournette. They're a run-first team. That's what Doug Marrone loves to do. And there's nothing exciting about it. I could see them finishing 8-8, but I would lean towards the under on this.
Okay, fair enough. Kansas City's total is 10.5.
Take the over.
I don't get this one. They won 12 games last year, and in the 2 games that they lost in their 12-4 season, they lost by 3 to the Rams in the game that was the game of the century, and they lost 43-40 to the Patriots. So, I mean, they look like more or less the same team to me, Howard, unless I'm missing something. I know Kareem Hunt is not there. And look, you have to rely on one of the other running backs, but I would say that Kansas City is now in that mold of whoever they start at running back ends up being successful. Remember, Denver for all those years would start Terrell Davis and Mike Anderson and Gary.
It's the system here.
It feels like it's the same thing. So the division is doable, and I would go over 10.5 on Kansas City. Probably.
Yeah, I would go over 2. I think that there might be a hedge here because there's still the case is still open technically against Tyreek Hill. And what happens if Tyreek Hill does end up taking some sort of a suspension? But you're 1,000% right about the running backs. It's an Andy Reid system. That's the Damian Williams is nothing special. Carlos Hyde, I actually think, is a better running back than he is. And then you have what's his name, Darwin Thompson, who they who they brought in, who
and
they drafted.
Cole Hardman they drafted too. Look, they have a very exciting offense. There's no doubt. I just don't see a lot of holes. I like the division they're playing in. But we could really transition, I think, right to the next team because I don't, as much as I do like Kansas City over 10.5, this is the interesting one for me. Howard, you tell me. And look, I was never and have not been a huge Melvin Gordon fan. I still think the Chargers are okay without him and whoever they have. Their total is 10. A lot of people are picking them to go to the Super Bowl. The Chargers. I'm seeing a lot of love for the Chargers. So, Howard, you tell me, like, what is it about this team that people are so in love with? Because, by the way, there certainly is the chance, given that division, that both teams could win 11, 12 games. We could see that again for sure. But for the Chargers to win and go that far, there's got to be something that I'm just not seeing about this team. So I don't have a strong opinion on the total of 10, but tell me why you think that is.
I'm kind of leaning on the over here. I could see them winning 11 games this season. I definitely do. I mean, again, Denver and Oakland, I don't think are going to be any kind of a problem for them or the Chiefs this season, which is important. That's 4 wins right there, potentially 4 wins right there. The interesting thing about the Chargers, they lose a target in Tyrell Williams, but yet they gain one back in Hunter Henry. I think I need Melvin Gordon to report for me to be confident in the over. I don't think this isn't a case of it being a system here. I don't think Justin Jackson is all that great, and Austin Eckler is nothing more than a pass-catching back. So if Gordon reports, then I want the over on this one because I do think that he's an integral part of the offense there. All but right. If he doesn't report, I'll take the under and just not bet it.
So you think Gordon is even worth like a half a win, really? Okay, yeah. That's an interesting point. All right, Dolphins over under is the lowest on the board of the entire NFL. I think the Cardinals are 5 or 4.5. The Dolphins over is minus 130 over 4.5 wins. Their under is plus 110, and look, the other thing about a team like this, and again, I don't love going over under on the worst team in the NFL or one of them. But Howard, we can also be candid that this is a team that we know for a fact is not going to win games. Now, we don't know. They could win 6, they could win 7, they could win 2. But the other part here, which is what is a little enticing on the under, is right out of the box, the Dolphins could make some trades and trade some players. Like, that come that trade deadline, there's very few teams right now that you would say are a lock to trade a player or two. It could be Kenny Stills. It could be on somebody on defense. They've been talking about trading one of their defensive backs. They play the Patriots and the Jets. They always play them well, though. They always end up beating the Patriots one time, so I don't know that you can really use that. Buffalo, of course, they're out of division games. The Ravens, the Chargers, the Redskins, the Bengals, the Eagles, and the Giants. So we don't do that whole that's a win, that's a loss thing. But out of the Ravens, Chargers, Redskins, Bengals, Eagles, and Giants, out of those 6 games, I mean, maybe there's 2 wins. Maybe there's 2. I just don't see a path to 5. I don't see a path to 5 wins, so I would lean toward the under. I don't love doing the lowest total on the board because even though their front end of the schedule is tough, all Miami has to do is win 2 games in a row. And then that total could go right over that 4.5.
See, I like the hook that you get here. I like the 4.5. If they had made this 4, I wouldn't necessarily have touched it. But could the Dolphins end up going 4-12 this year? Easily they could go 4-12 and just sit right there. So I'm okay on the under here, because it's a crap team. They're not
going to be good. They're chasing the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
They want to or maybe by that point a different quarterback comes out and is good. Like everyone is just so guaranteed and locked that 2 is the number 1 guy. And I'll say this on every live stream until the season starts. No one had Kyler Murray as the number 1 guy, even in October or November last year. So that could certainly change. But I would agree with you. I would lean toward the under, and I think they'll trade players. The New England Patriots, always fun. Their total is 11, although if you go over, it's minus 140. So that's a heavy number to pay. They're under, you can get some nice value if some miracle was to happen with the Patriots. They're just not good. Plus 120. The Patriots have gone over on their win total. They went over 8 years in a row on their win total. Their Vegas win total. They pushed last year, Howard, for the first time. So I don't know how they got the easiest schedule in the NFL. They got the Giants, the Bengals, and Redskins out of conference. Second easiest schedule. Opponent win percentage 473. I gotta go over on New England. I don't know. I don't see a way they go under unless they're 10-0 and then decide, oh, like we won the division, we're done. Let's just start benching guys at the end in the last couple of games. That could happen with them, but Belichick still tends to play players or doesn't. Like you just don't know in week 16 or week 17. So if I had to guess, I would say the Patriots with 13 games, and I would go over the 11.
Yeah, thank you. You wasted plenty of our time just getting to that point again. I would have done it too. Right? Stretch it out.
Yeah, I think we could
go to the Jets.
Oh, well, your Jets.
I don't need
your
to
favorite
talk
team.
England.
Your favorite team. You had you had a really rough year rooting for the Jets last year. You refused to take them in any game that we did in the live stream. You're like, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And you know what? You were right most of the time. Jets had the worst offensive line in football last year, rated by either Football Outsiders or Pro Football Focus. I forgot, but they were dead last in the NFL. So they got Ryan Khalil. He came out of retirement. He'll help them at center. I like Sam Darnold. Bell is obviously an upgrade there. The over-under is 7.5, minus 130 on the over. Under is plus 110. What you got?
I got the over, baby. I got over on the Jets. I got the Jets finishing 8-8 this year.
I would lean toward the over also. I would. I like Sam Darnold. I think he's going to be good.
I think he's going to be okay too. I think they've got a decent running back. I mean, we've got a lot to. I think the problem is I think that a lot of people are just down on Adam Gase and really trying to figure out what kind of right. Yeah. I mean, what kind of an offense is he going to run here? He says that he wants to run a specific type of offense that he couldn't run in Miami because he didn't have the personnel because everybody was hurt. And, he's just making excuses over and over again. He's got supposedly an elite running back, an improvement on the offensive line, a better offensive line coach, a more zone-friendly blocking scheme that they're going to do. They got to run this offense through Le'Veon Bell 100%, and I think it's an 8-8 team. It's not, listen, could I see him going 9-7? Sure,
I could too. I don't think it's unreasonable. Yeah, I don't think it's unreasonable.
Still a program in rebuild.
Okay. Is there any? You talk about not spending time on a team. Is there anything to talk about here with the Raiders? Their total is 6.
Take the under.
They have the hardest schedule in the NFL. How did that happen? Their win percentage against teams they played last year 5-3-9. That's toughest in the NFL. Last 4 coaches. This means nothing, I know, but let's just get it out there. The last 4 coaches to appear on Hard Knocks have been fired within one season. Did you know that?
I did not know that. Did you watch the first episode of Hard Knocks?
I did. I don't think I taped tonight. No, it's on a 10. Right?
Dude, it was the worst thing.
It was great for like 30 seconds. It was amazing. The open was amazing with Gruden talking, and then it was just awful the rest of the way. I totally agree. What's going on with that this year?
When they cut Ollie, I was totally that was my favorite part of the entire episode. But
they had no stories.
The horseback riding was ridiculous.
I agree.
John Abram being a paycheck player and starting to talk nothing but smack at Derek Carr for how much he's making. While it
seemed very contrived, man. It seemed very contrived this year.
You know what was contrived? The fact that they made Richie Incognito and Antonio Brown look like the nicest dudes ever. Oh, hey, Richie, come on over here. Come meet Antonio, your new teammate.
I was so hyped when I saw Gruden talking in that first open. I'm like, wow, this is going to be the best show ever. And it just went downhill. But anyway, Hugh Jackson, Jeff Fisher, Mike Smith, Joe Philbin, 4 coaches in a row that didn't make it through the second year after Hard Knocks. Every coach probably gets fired within 2 years in the NFL, honestly. But anyway, they finished the season at the Chargers. Their total is 6 wins. I think the Raiders going into the last 2 games of the year are like 4-10. So I could see them pulling off a couple wins at the end and getting a push. But there's no way they're going over 6. Oh, no, I don't see that. Under for me.
Definitely. All right, Pittsburgh. Now, this is an interesting situation here.
Oh, tough. These last 2 are very tough. These last 2
Where do you go with Pittsburgh? I like the weaponry. I think that it's okay. I think the passing game is going to be good. I'm driving that Vance McDonald bandwagon. Tight end whisperer. And listen, I love what they've got going on there. The question is though, the 9, like I don't want to bet this.
That's a low number for Pittsburgh, so it is dragging you right to that over. Vegas wants to build another hotel off that over. Like that, you don't put Pittsburgh at 9 unless they want you to go over. So That's scary for me. I don't put much into Bell. I thought Connor was great, and they drafted Snell. He's a good backup running back too. If Samuels doesn't work out, Juju's fine. Their defense is fine. Ben is obviously the whole team. We know that. Well, Dobbs played pretty good, but again, this is the fishiest AFC total here. How can you make Pittsburgh 9? Like, that feels like if you asked me right now, what do you think Pittsburgh's number is? I would have been off by 1, which is more than I would have been off by any. I would have gotten within a half probably of all of them. I would have put Pittsburgh at 10 without a doubt. But this is just like so much Cleveland respect. Like, this just tells you that everyone thinks the Browns are just as good as the Steelers going into the year.
Sure.
I'm just going to pass on this one. I think the number is probably spot on. I think they probably have 9 wins, Howard, going into the last game of the season, just like last year. Mm-hmm. And they win, they're in. They lose, they're out. It's like, just get me out of it. I'm done with Pittsburgh, but no lean.
And then finally, the Tennessee Titans. The number's 8.
Ugh. Sell me on Tennessee one way or the other here too.
Okay, listen. There's no passing game. There's 0 passing game. Marcus Mariota stinks at football. All right. A.J. Brown was drafted, but, I mean, look who's throwing him the ball. It's Marcus Mariota. Corey Davis is never going to develop into this number 1 wide receiver that everybody talks about. It's going to be a run-first team until they have to spend the rest of their time in the second half trying to play catch-up. I love the offensive line. I love Derrick Henry this year. I'm very much in him for like fantasy purposes.
I hope they give him the ball more than they did in the first half last year. That's for sure.
Well, they're going to have to.
They didn't figure that out until he rushed for like 400 yards in one game, right? And then they gave it to him every game.
Because they had to. They just couldn't believe that New England would give up on such a great talent like Dion Lewis, and they kept trying to shuttle Dion Lewis out there the entire time. That dude's done like dinner. So I like Derrick Henry, but I don't like the passing in this on this team. The over/under is 8. I'm not gonna bet it because I just don't. I think that they could be just an 8-8 team at that rate. But I could lean on the under here. I could definitely lean on the under.
Minus 140 though. That's a big risk.
Well, yeah, again, that's why you don't bet it. You don't bet it.
Yeah, I don't think I would agree with you on the lean, but it's just such a boring team. It's like Tennessee and Jacksonville. They're both going to have 7 or 8 wins, I think, this year. I mean, look, there's going to be a surprise team somewhere that's going to completely bomb. That happens every year. There's probably going to be a surprise team that's going to end up winning 12 games that we don't expect. Look, as much as I like the Bears going into last year, I did not think they'd be that good. So, I thought they'd be much better, but not that good. So there'll be some team in the AFC that comes out of nowhere. I guess we could kind of end with that, Howard. Like, my team. Like, to me, the biggest, and we'll disagree on this, the biggest team that I think could be a bust would be Houston. Out of nowhere. I think they could go from 9 wins to like 3. Do you have a team that could go like a surprise boom team for you? Like a team that's not expected to win that many games that ends up winning a lot with the Jets? Is that the team for you?
No, I kind of feel like it would be Buffalo would be that team that would surprise you the most. I mean, you're more bullish on them than I am. So
I do like Buffalo, but I just love the total. I don't think Buffalo wins 11 games, but 7 is just, to me, it's too low. Like, what makes Buffalo worse than Tennessee and Jacksonville?
Oh, I don't know.
That's why their numbers should be
Buffalo stigma. Buffalo stigma.
I don't get it. Playing in the same division as New England is the only thing I can think of. That's why their number is 7 and not 7.5 or 8. It's because Jacksonville beats Tennessee. Tennessee beats Jacksonville. Jacksonville beats Houston. Houston beats Jacksonville. Maybe that's part of it. But I could say that about Buffalo. Like, look, New England is great, but they're going to lose 2 games or 3 to someone. I don't know who it's going to be, but they're going to lose a couple. Why not Miami? Why not Buffalo? You just don't know. And it's just that number seems low to me. So that's not a bad boom pick. But anyway, those are our totals for the AFC. Very good opinions, I thought, by you. You made some good points there. I'll take them under consideration for sure. And then we'll be back on Friday for the NFC.
Friday we're going to do the NFC, and then I'll tell you what. We'll do your favorite, my favorite, your least favorite, my least favorite for the entire league.
Okay.
We'll throw that in there.
Well, I'm gonna bet something here. I mean, there's no doubt that before I do it every year. So I'm gonna actually, I mean, some people like to just talk and talk and talk. Like, I will bet one of these at least, if not two or three. From people who know from what I do in the past, my trends for people who have watched these streams before is I usually do one. I try to just say, I can't know that much about this, but if I feel so strongly about one, to take one. I probably, in the AFC, my one would be over on Buffalo. As much as I do like Houston under, I would try to get an 8 for Houston. If somebody could find me an 8 at a casino, that's what I would want. I would want plus money on Houston under 8, so plus 120, as opposed to laying minus 160 for 8.5. I just wouldn't do that. So, but the NFC, I think we have some good ones too. I'm looking forward to doing that as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. Right now I'm tilting my favorite here so far, in all honesty, and I know you're going to hate this, is I'll take the under on the Dolphins.
Yeah, I think look, I don't think you're wrong. I just think it's dangerous, man. I think it's always dangerous to take the worst team with the lowest total.
What's my middle name, Craig?
And bag on it. But look, you make really solid points. I don't see a path to 5 wins with Miami. I don't. I find it very hard to see 5, but it scares me. And there's probability with everything, but it just scares me, like a key injury to one player in the same division, and the total's so low, and then they end up winning 5. But if I had to lean for sure, I cannot go over on Miami. And knowing, by the way, what I know about the Dolphins, I just know that if they're okay, by the way, from what I understand, they're okay with not even getting the first pick, because they have so many draft picks that they'll just give one away to get up and get that first pick at the end of the season. So they could end up winning 5 games or 4 games and still trade up to get one if, let's say, Cincinnati ends up one or Arizona ends up one. Am I missing somebody in the NFC that could be worse than these two? Arizona's the lowest, right?
Washington.
Oh, Washington. We can't forget them. Yeah.
They're terrible.
Terrible. Yeah, they. You're right. I forgot about them. They could have a really bad year too. But we'll hit that on Friday.
All right. That's going to do it for us here at the Wager Alarm live stream. Big thanks to our friend Matt Sells for doing all the production work here. For Craig Mish, I'm Howard Bender. We'll catch you next time.